This is the Tom Bigby Tales, and I'm your host, Shannon Evans. Tonight's episode is Old Nancy Really Does Need to Go. That old girl's gotten a little long in the tooth in her job. The largest consistent draw to tourism in Columbus has historically been its antebellum homes and the associated spring pilgrimage. The spring pilgrimage is the annual multi-week tour of privately owned antebellum homes in Columbus. The homeowners in the Historic Home Tours Association spend significant amounts of their own money to have their yards, their gardens, and their homes ready to show their historically significant and either fully restored or in the restoration process homes to tourists who historically, notice the word historically is used a lot here, come from all over the world. Prior to 2011, busloads of tourists would come from all over the US and Canada for the spring pilgrimage. For many years, history buffs from Japan and other foreign countries would fill tour buses after tour bus and explore the South, stopping in Columbus on their way to Natchez' pilgrimage, and then on to Vicksburg to explore Civil War battlefields and museums and Vicksburg's mighty homes, before continuing on north to Clarksdale and then to Memphis to Blues Alley. Unfortunately for Columbus, the reins for the Columbus Visitors Bureau were handed over to the current director, Nancy Luke Carpenter, about 2011, who, for some reason or another, became more interested in accumulating real estate during that time for the CVB than in attracting tourists. The spring pilgrimage and the attraction of busloads of tourists is not a week before one-time event ad in the paper. In other words, it requires months and even years of planning and investment in professional advertising and marketing and event promotion. For example, to get on a future tour bus guide company's radar for inclusion in their offerings to groups for this spring, the legwork and pitch of our events would have needed to have been started a minimum of 2.5 to 3 years ago, just for this coming 2024 season. First, the tour operator has to get Columbus on their schedule and then into their publication, which takes coordination. Most schedules are organized and ready for printing 15 to 18 months before they go out to their audiences, which is 3 to 6 months before their tickets are even sold to the prospective customers. This takes planning to organize with the tour bus companies, but a good city tourism director understands that need and understands how to get their town's tours and events out to the tour brokers and organizers. Natchez does it. Savannah does it. Heck, Oxford, Vicksburg, and Meridian do it. So why not Columbus? Because our tourism director does not bother to do the legwork and organization and prioritization of planning and packaging of events to take to brokerage events where she can pitch our tours and our town to these bus tour operator companies. She waits year after year to the last minute to organize even printing local brochures to get out to the visitor centers around the state on the state's highways for our pilgrimage. She's too busy hobnobbing with the governor's family and attending Mississippi State football and baseball games and sitting on every board seat possible anywhere but in Columbus, Mississippi. It's not clear exactly why she wants nothing to do with the Columbus brand, those antebellum homes, despite living in one of those antebellum homes that she continually uses in what little advertising she actually does do for the town. We know she does nothing to promote local tourism on spring pilgrimage in her position, but she also seems to go out of her way to derail and sabotage the Homeowners Association's efforts to promote their events. 2 months ago, the Tom Bigby Tales reported that the historic home tours had not been given the grant monies they had been promised by the CVB board a year ago because Carpenter claimed as recent as this October she did not have the corrected, updated version of the home tours 501c3 paperwork. She did not technically need that updated version per the Secretary of State's office. However, she insisted that she did need it, and those papers were delivered before the next board meeting. The board's treasurer, Quinn Brislin, asked again in November at the board meeting why the monies had not been paid yet to the Historic Home Tours group. Carpenter claimed she did not have all the copies of bills, which she did have, and she had only just gotten the new updated 501c3 form from them. She was instructed by the board again to pay them their monies. She still, as of January of 2024, not paid them their monies promised in 2022 for 2023's expenses. And she is now telling the Historic Home Tours group that the CVB overspent their in-kind ad budget for the Historic Home Tours by approximately $3,500. And so the CVB, who chose to make that overspending, would be taking that out of whatever amount they would be giving the Historic Home Tours in 2024's budget. Excuse me? Say what? The CVB spent more in kind out of their budget without discussion with the Historic Home Tours and their own board. And yet their overspending is going to be passed on to the Historic Home Tours organization? That doesn't make sense. That makes absolutely no sense. But wait, there's more. Because with Nancy Carpenter, there's always more. Upon closer examination, part of the monies promised to the Historic Home Tours was suddenly missing from their budget line. An additional $15,000 promised in the form of a grant from the CVB as a one-time funding opportunity with no strings attached for 2023 was suddenly missing from the Historic Home Tours budget. Where did it go? Where was it spent? The Historic Home Tours Vice President, Joe Beckett, asked for an accounting of where was that grant. Carpenter tried to push the agenda that the Historic Home Tours never applied for it. Beckett pushed back, requesting the board minutes. It was essentially a one-time gift from the board, per the board's own minutes, to establish parity related to an amount given to the Preservation Society, another homeowner group. No application was requested or required. So what is the board going to do to make Carpenter not only pay the amount from last year in full and the $15,000 promised? Are they going to deal with her trying to continually cheat the Historic Home Tours out of their promised grants and her trying to take money out of their hands for her choosing to overspend on in-kind advertising? Exactly where is that missing $15,000? Has it been spent elsewhere? Has anyone actually bothered doing any forensic accounting? Mrs. Carpenter seems to be working extra hard to not pay the Historic Home Tours group. Why? Did she use their money to renovate the Elks Club porch? Or is she helping to move it over to the Columbus Cultural Heritage Foundation at the Tennessee Williams Building and put it in their budget to help fund her unfunded new position there? I know one thing for sure. It's definitely not being invested in tourism or the people who are actually trying to save our town's tourism, the homeowners. This is just another case of Nancy Carpenter refusing to pay her bills and do her actual job. It's time to send her packing now. Put her on administrative leave and send her home. This is the Tom Bigby Tales, and thank you.